Welcome back to Read This Next with Laura and Nicole from the Thunder Bay Public Library. This week we're doing a flashback episode because we have a very special event that's occurring today. Two things. First, it's our 50th episode!
Hey! Hurrah for us.
Yeah, and second, it is our last episode of the season until September.
We are taking the summer off to do lots more reading.
Pretty much.
Take vacations, all those sorts of good things. And then we will be back in the fall with new episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But don't worry, we're not leaving you hanging over the summer. If you are a podcast listener, we are going to continue uploading our old podcast episodes because previously when we first started doing this, we were only doing it as a video show instead of podcast. Mm-hmm. So you will get new content through the summer as well.
Mm-hmm. If you're a loyal YouTube user, unfortunately, you will just have to look at old videos, and that is that.
That is that. You can follow us on Goodreads and see what we're reading personally that way.
Yeah, or if you're
also
one of the Shaw people who are watching on our local TV, yes, you will be watching reruns. So you get to flip back and see our hairstyles and our clothing change.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So we were talking, we weren't really sure how this episode was gonna lay out. So do we want to talk about the books first, or do we want to talk about how we felt about the season?
Maybe let's do a little how we felt about the program first.
Okay. I'll just say that it was surprisingly harder than I thought it would be to keep up with the reading, which is part of the reason we're taking a break so that I can catch up on reading. But good.
To be fair, I think a lot of the times if people are doing book recommendation things, they're recommending like maybe one book at a time, or they do it every 2 weeks or like once a month or whatever. We've been doing this every week for a year. So that's a lot of books, even though sometimes, like, to be fair, we recommend books that we read like prior to starting doing this program, but quite a lot of the time we were reading like about a book a week at minimum. So it's been a pace, which personally for me has been really good. It's made me do a lot, like pick up my reading a lot, which is good, because that's something that I haven't been reading as much adult or YA fiction. I've been reading a lot of picture books because I have a small child.
It makes sense.
But this encouraged me to, kind of get back in there a little bit with other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have read half the books I did this year and last year if I hadn't done this, because I'm not a reluctant reader. I love to read, but to just pick up something when it's so easy to flip through TikTok is like difficult now. So especially with everything so high stress lately, it's just been like, no, I'm gonna read because I have to. But then you get into the book and you're like, wow, no, I love reading again.
Yes, that's another, like Nicole says, she flip through TikTok, whereas I have a tendency to read a lot of fan fiction. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
All reading
fan
is
fiction's
reading.
Great. All reading is reading. But it does mean that sometimes I'll get like caught up in reading the same sort of stories over and over. And like, I could certainly branch out and do something new. And that's what this encourages me to do. Step away from the fan fiction every once in a while.
Yeah, and we get to rediscover or discover and rediscover old and new genres that like we wouldn't have read before. Especially me. I don't like mysteries, or at least I didn't think I did. And here we are. We read mysteries. Like, dang, wow, good for us. Yeah. How did you feel about the year?
Good. One of the things that I always really enjoy as part of library work is talking about books and recommending books to people and like kind of pinning down a little bit about what we like about them. And I really missed doing that when we're closed to the public. And then prior to that, I was on maternity leave myself. And so I didn't do any of that then either. So it's been really nice for me to be able to do that, because it's one of the parts of this job that I really, really love, is being able to talk about books and share books with people. When we first started the show, we mucked around with the format a little bit. We thought about doing a thing where we were going to talk about like book news, because if you don't pay attention to like book and publishing news, you would be shocked
It's
at
juicy.
it's juicy. The gossip out there, it's bananas, the kind of stories. And there's always something, like there's always something. But we tried to do that, and then we would like run out of time for the books. It just didn't fit together well.
Mm-hmm.
So, at some point I might revisit another way to get those kind of conversations going, because fun, very fun,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't quite fit in with what this show became.
Mm-hmm. We should
Mhm.
just do it monthly. Update
We
everybody
could.
on the gossip.
There's always something. It's crazy.
I love it. Laura always tells me we used to do it. We run a youth advisory council together for youth 12 to 18, and Laura would always bring up the hot gossip during those, and everyone was just like so invested whenever she would do it. So yeah, I miss the hot gossip that you would give me. 'Cause I never hear about it, and then you're just like, how is this happening and nobody knows?
I know. It's like this sort of insular world, right? Like book publishing. And if you go on the sites, then but if you don't, then you'd have no idea that there's like feuds happening on YA Twitter, or like, they've abolished the Romance Writers Award because of all sorts of like weird stuff happening there with their like management, and with discussions of racial depictions. Like, it's just, there's so much stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try to find another way to work that in.
We can make it happen, I think.
We can make it happen. If
Absolutely.
you have other ideas of things that you think we should consider working into this, then, like, as always, we say we'd love suggestions, theme suggestions, stuff we should talk about.
Yeah, we have a whole year worth of suggestions that we need to fill the roster of next year.
I did
So
start some already. I don't know if you noticed.
I did. I saw a few. I was like, "Ooh, we're getting there." This is good though, because I need something to read towards for this
Time in
summer.
advance.
Yeah, my
Yes.
Goodreads like year thing that's like, you read this many books in this year. It's not enough to keep me reading. I look at it and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm 6 books behind. That's a bummer. But this, I'm like, ooh, we got to read towards this genre. I can do that. So,
Yeah. And it's all good stuff. It's all
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about this new program experience, this thing we've done together?
Really good. I mean, COVID happened and there was like no way for us to film in person, which is I think kind of what we were hoping to do
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe next season, we'll
Yeah.
see. But yeah, no, really good because it's been hard to connect with coworkers working from home, and being not able to go between the branches. Like, if you don't know, Laura works at Brody Library and I work at Waverly Library, so I don't get to see the people at the other branches. So it's been really nice to be able to like connect with you and
Yeah.
see and hear people talk to us about how our show is doing. It's been really nice. It's just been a good connection when there's been so little in the library life that we have right now. So
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. And a totally new thing for the library. Like, we've never done anything like this before. And we
I'm
just
way
went
better
for
at
it.
editing.
And
So much better at editing now.
yes, I mean, I'm glad like we're sharing the old one because we have old content, but I will say our first couple, not even just our first couple, we're better now than when we
Yeah,
started.
they're a little rough at the beginning.
You can tell our nerves are
Yeah.
there.
You're lucky you don't have to see like the video edits because you're just hearing our voice if you're on the podcast. So
Yes.
it's good. It'll be good. But that being said, with our 50th, we're recapping the year, all that fun stuff, but we also wanted to do an episode where we talk about books that we read that we highlighted on the show but we hadn't read yet. So now we're coming at you with the "oh my goodness, we read this and it was really good" list. That's a long
So
title.
it is. Well, it's our flashbacks, right?
Hmm.
Because these are books that we mentioned, and then we went and read them ourselves. So, like, when we say that we're just like sharing the good books with you, we mean it. These are the ones that we ended up reading because they look so good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is a book we recommended on the Best of 2020 Part 1 episode back in January. So it's been a while, which also means I think it's been a while since I've read this book, but it is It's a good one. So I'm just going to give you the description. It's called Leave the World Behind. It's by Ruman Aman. My mother lent it to me. And it's, I think I'm just going to, instead of reading it, I'm just going to talk about it. Instead of reading the description, I'm just going to talk about it. Okay.
Sounds good.
So there's this like middle class white family and the two kids, and they've decided to basically do like an Airbnb of this older Black couple who are quite well off, their sort of beach house. So they're enjoying their time in the house. And then all of a sudden, the couple who own the house like turn up and they say, oh, like something's happened in the city. And so we thought it was safer to come out here. So we're going to come out here. So at the beginning, it's kind of just like this awkward, like not comedy of manners, but like, you know, like they both kind of feel ownership of the house because the people like, they're like, we paid to stay here. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And then the people who actually own the house are like, this
We
is our
own it.
house. We
Yeah.
own this house.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like a friction there. And then there's a friction between like sort of like different social classes, and then also different ages, like different stages in life, right? Between having the kids and then the grown children. And then also like, obviously there's like a racial element to it that's also causing different feelings. And it goes on from there. And you kind of wonder, it's not super, they're very isolated, like sort of geographically, and then also they're isolated because there's no news coming in, there's no internet or whatever. So you're kind of stuck with them being like, is there something big happening? Like, is the world ending? Was a
Oh.
bomb dropped? Or are we kind of overreacting? Like, are things as bad as we think they are? But what if we go out to find out and things are really bad? And then what happens, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of just goes on from there. It's a very you know, if it is an apocalypse, like no spoilers, it's a very quiet apocalypse. And it's a very, very tightly focused one, just looking at this family. There's a couple other characters that come like for very, very short little in and outs, but basically these are the two families you're staying with the whole time. And yeah, just very interesting looking at, you know, a different type of end of the world, but also looking at all these different questions of how people relate to each other. Who should they trust? You know, is this a safe place? Attuned, this is from the book, suspenseful, from the description of the book, suspenseful and provocative, looking at the complexities of parenthood, race, and class. Explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones are forged in moments of crisis.
That's so interesting. What a cool new way to do the we're a apocalypse group together. Like instead of just being like, "Oh, well, I found these people on the street or whatever." These people have to stay kind of, I guess, together.
And
But
they,
yeah.
yeah, who owes each other? And it's like, you know, who's going to be the most polite? How polite do you be when you're you've rented a home and then the owners come home and you're like,
Yeah, you're not even sure that they should be there.
yeah, yes, it's quite good book.
I can't I was gonna say I can't wait for you to finish it, but you already did.
I did finish it, and I'm not going to spoil anything. I will say it's not one of the, there's not a lot tied up. It's fairly open ended. Like there's
Okay.
things that are left. So if that, you know, if that sort of thing really frustrates you, then maybe this might not be a book. But if you like it when you're left thinking about things and you have more questions and it sticks in your brain for a while, then this one is a good one for you.
Turn it over in your brain a little bit.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay, I keep opening up a Word document instead of the actual paper. Okay, so this recommendation that I'm gonna go with was from the graphic novels written by women episode, which I think we did in March at some point for International Women's Day or
Yes.
month, Women's History Month. So this is Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Osman, and the translator is, I think it's Louis Delgado. And I interestingly did not read this through the library website or the physical copy, even though we do have them.
Oh, I know how you read it.
Yeah, so there's this online platform called Webtoons, and it hosts like all these self-published um web illustrators that post their content on there. So you might have heard of Lore of Olympus or Nerd and I or Jock and Nerd comics or things like that. And there's some really popular ones like Lore of Olympus is officially becoming a book, which is pretty cool. And it's based off Greek mythology. Right up my alley. So this one, I think she did the opposite. She made her books first, and then she started uploading them to Webtoon, which is, I mean, cool. But if you're having trouble getting access to it, it is available there. Regardless, so this is Heartstopper. It's based on this young high school. I think they said he's a June grade 10. So yeah, grade 10. Um and I can't remember his name. I literally read this a few days ago. What a Charlie. Yeah, okay, Charlie. So he's like really nervous. He's very like withdrawn and very shy kid. And you can tell that he's got like something going on with another guy at school. He's openly gay. He's, as far as we're aware, the only openly gay um boy at the school. And
Mhm.
he meets this other guy who's tall and blonde, and I have to say I love how the artist draws the necks. Like it's so realistic. Like this guy looks beefy and his neck looks like he's a beefy guy. I don't know how better to
What a
explain it.
specific comment.
I'll try and find an image for you later and you'll be like, I get it. I get it. Yeah, but he kind of strikes up a conversation with Nick, and then he invites him to join the rugby league. And the first book is kind of them just meeting and how their relationship kind of grows a little bit, and maybe they take care of each other. There's no real romance in the first book, as far as I've seen, unless I missed a page. But it's very cute. I like the slow build that they have going with just them.
Slow burn, eh?
Yeah, they're just building this cute little relationship. Like they're friends right now. They're teaching each other to play rugby. So yeah, and it's really good. And I'm gonna try and find you an image while you talk about your next one. But have you read it?
I have not. I've come across it. I know I'm familiar with it, but I have not read it.
Yeah, I will also say it's not your typical graphic novel art style. It's a little more, it's not scribbly, but like it's a little more scribbly than like manga is very clean lines. And if you picture like Cheese Sweet Home, it's very clean and tight and
Mhm.
precise. This is a little bit more like doodle in your notebook kind of, which I like. It's a little
Yeah,
more real and I like it.
there's I think 3 volumes so far, I believe, and there's tons of LGBTQ representation as you go through. So that's a hot tip too.
Hot tip.
Hot
Okay,
tip.
let me find a picture of his neck.
Okay, I'll start mine. You look for your
I
picture.
got it.
You got your picture?
Look at their necks.
That's a neck. Yeah.
Like they just look
Yeah.
like such totally different built people, and I like that. Anyways,
Good. Good body diversity in
yeah,
illustrations. Why not? Nice change. Look at
absolutely.
some manga and everyone is like the exact same body type. So
Yeah, yeah.
good to mix it up. Right. Okay. So my next one is a book that had been on my to read list already before I wrecked it. It is from our Gaze in Space episode.
Oh, that was like our like fifth episode or something like
I
that.
know this is an old one. It's from August of 2020.
Holy.
Yes. So yeah, not a I did read it a while ago as well. And I actually read it and I enjoyed it. And then I read book 2 as well. Because
Nice.
it's a
So
whole
it's a
series.
series.
It's a
Okay.
series. I think there's 4 books now because a recent one came out just recently. Okay, so the book is called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. The series is called the Wayfarers series. And it's a space opera.
Yay.
So yay. So it's basically, like a crew hanging out on a spaceship, and it has all those fun sort of tropes you'd expect, right? Like the found family, and there's like the loner who thinks they don't need anybody. And then they learn to value other members of the team and they all bond together. And there's it's fun because, well, it's fun for lots of reasons, but one of the reasons it's fun is that this author has really branched out beyond humans. There are all
Oh,
sorts of different alien life forms who are members of the team, right, on the actual ship. And then also they encounter all sorts of different people. The world is very well thought out. So like the job that the spaceship has, the job contract that they're meant to fulfill, like it's just everything's really built out, the whole world. There is a there is a bit of a romance, interspecies, I guess I could say,
okay.
would be most accurate, but it is very like dot 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 fade to black. So if you're like, if you hear me say that and you're like, ugh, you know,
No.
I understand. I understand that initial response, but I just want to reassure you, you don't have to have that response. It is, there's nothing, there's no detail. It's just like, oh, they're cute. But that is in there. Yeah, just like a fun space adventure, romp, lighthearted, um, good time. The life on the planet, the ship is chaotic and crazy. It gets dangerous. They have to, rely on each other. Yeah, it's a
That
good
sounds
time.
really cool. Do they do like multiple missions or is it like one big mission for each episode or episode
Um,
book?
this particular one is focused on one specific large goal, but
Okay.
I think the next one jumps around a little bit more, maybe goes between different characters. The ship has an AI,
Mm.
which is fun, artificial intelligence, case I, for
Go
some
check
reason,
out.
someone doesn't know that.
Yeah, go check out our artificial intelligence episode.
Yeah, yes, that's another one too. I'll link to that in the show notes. Yeah.
Good
Anyway,
stuff.
if you like light science fiction, then that's one to check out.
Sounds good. Okay. Oh, see, I pulled up the Word document again.
Just
Okay.
close the Word document.
Yeah, I'll do that. There we go, it's gone. Okay, this next one is another graphic novel. It's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which was from, again, from our graphic novels written by women um, episode. At first, we thought it was from a different episode. Now I'm thinking we didn't actually do that episode that I'm thinking of. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's from our Women's History Month graphic novel one, and I forgot to say the title, not the title, the author. So it is by Amy Reeder, Brandon Montclair, and then there is a bunch of artists and illustrators like Natasha Bustos, Tamara Bonvillain, and basically it's this girl. Her name's Lunella. They also call her Moon Girl,
Sure.
and she is too smart for her own good. She is sassy. She doesn't pay attention in school until the teacher's like, hey, you need to start paying attention. And then she's like, here's the answer, but more than you asked for, kind of sassy. But I think she's like 8 or 10 years old. So it's still very cute when you hear her do these sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it flashes back. Basically, she has, and this isn't a spoiler, she has a gene that if um activated somehow, she could become inhuman, and she's trying to use science to figure out how to prevent that. I think she's trying to figure out how to prevent it. All I know is she's trying to figure out something involving her mutation. And in doing that, she finds a Kree, which is the alien um species that come into play in the movies and the
Mm-hmm.
comics.
Mm-hmm.
And she finds a device, and when it gets spun around, it accidentally unleashes like a dinosaur and some cavemen, and the cavemen are the villains, and
Okay.
the dinosaur and her somehow they very 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 slowly kind of become friends. It starts with him just like picking her up by her backpack and just like dragging her around town, and it's really cute. And the drawing, it's very fast paced, which is I find a lot of graphic novels, I guess it depends on the character, but Like the Hawkeye graphic novels are a little more slow paced, but this one's like da 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 da. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. And then her parents kind of say you can't hang out with dinosaurs anymore. You're in danger.
Parents don't understand.
Yeah, and then there's a fire at the school, and the dinosaur helps save the kids, and then the Hulk comes along and is like, "You can't play with dinosaurs," and she's like, "You're stupid, Hulk," and he's like, "I'm the smartest man alive." It's very funny seeing an 8-year-old argue with the Hulk, the smartest man alive. So it's very cute. There's way more than that. There's like I think 47 issues, maybe more than that. And I think that anything that I just said was only like up to issue 6. So it's very cute, very good. The drawings are very like lively and full of energy, and I would recommend reading it. So take a peek. I know we have it on Cloud Library if we don't have it in the
Oh, do
library.
we?
I
I
think
think we
so.
have at least volume 1
Yeah.
in print. Might just
Yeah.
be volume 1.
I think you're right, but it's very good. I like it.
That is super fun.
Yeah, I'll probably keep reading the next one after volume 1 because it was good.
I think it's an all ages.
I think, yeah.
Or yeah, so that, if you have young people who like comics, that could
Read
be
it
one.
together.
Yeah. Okay. My next one is a real oddball, which makes sense because it is from our November 2020 Wildcards episode.
There you go.
There you go. So that episode was one where we basically were just doing like books that sound odd. Like if you gave someone the like line, like a short description of what it was, they would be like, "What are you talking about?"
Huh?
Yeah. Which so all of the books on that episode obviously are odd, strange, unusual. Many are super fun. The one in particular that I'm going to talk about is called Hearts of Oak
Okay.
by Eddie Robson. And I it's another one where I can't say too much because you'll spoil it. But it starts off with a character who is an architect in a city, and they are always building more things in the city. And she just goes about her day, and then a young woman comes and asks for private tutoring, and that unsettles our main character because something about this person doesn't seem quite right, doesn't quite fit in with everything else. And then at the same time, there's a king character who has a talking cat as their confidant
Love
and
it.
advisor, I guess. So it starts out feeling very fantasy. And then things go along, and then there's a turn and things get very sci-fi.
Ooh.
Yes. So the way you think the town is organized and the things you think are happening are very, I had no idea that, like, it's not like I saw this twist coming. Big surprises, definitely. Big surprises. What you think is happening is totally different. And it hurts me not to say more, but I don't want to spoil it.
That's how you're a
So
good recommender. When you can find the line between spoiling and explaining a book, that's tough.
basically, it's short. It's quite short. So it's a quick read. Really interesting ideas, just kind of fun. Like you're reading it, and you're like, oh, they're this, and then you kind of look back and you're like, oh, okay, no, I see where they were seeding that in, but I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. Hearts of Oak.
Sounds good. Hearts
Mm.
of Oak. Mm.
Yeah.
It's funny, these titles, I'm like, I recognize the title, but I cannot remember anything about them.
Well, as you say, this is our 50th episode.
Ah, no
So,
kidding.
to be fair, we have mentioned many titles.
Yeah, November was literally 6 months ago?
Time ago.
Sometime. Anyways.
Anyways.
This next one is Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. Now, this one was from our Latinx paranormal fiction episode,
Mhm.
which was really fun. but this one I was so excited to read it when I heard about it. I was so excited to read it when we talked about it, and then when I
Yeah.
finally read it, it lived up to my hopes and
Oh,
dreams,
good.
which
I thought
was
you were going to say it didn't. I was like, oh no.
yeah, we're ending this 50th episode with boo.
With a
No.
middling
Yeah.
review.
No, no. It was really good. So it follows the main character, I think it's Yadriel. I almost said Yadiel. That's not correct. Yadriel, who is uh a transgender um brujo, or he's trying to prove that he is a brujo, which is the male version of in the book, you're not supposed to say witch because that is not considered polite. But if you don't know what a brujo is,
The
that is basically
equivalent.
it. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
equivalent, but they yeah, it's basically the equivalent. But anyways, so we're following him, and he's been kind of denied the rite of passages to become a full brujo, and he's still not really fighting with, but struggling with his family to get beyond that, the idea of the old traditions and not being uh that they all think that he should be becoming a bruja and
Right.
using his healing powers, but in like the very first chapter, he and his best friend decide to go through with these rituals on their own and prove to everybody that he is a brujo. And Lady Death, who grants them their powers, um, she sees him for who he really is and grants him the power and the ability to talk to and set spirits free. So he has proven that he's Brujo in the very first chapter, but now he has to prove it to his family. So in doing this, he finds they're looking for his cousin Miguel, who has disappeared suddenly, and they all can feel their connection. It's very Force in that way, if you're not sure what I'm explaining. Like Luke and Leia can feel each other's what's going on. So when Miguel disappears, they all feel like a ripping sensation, like something really bad happened. And when that happens and they're searching for Miguel, he meets this other spirit named Julian, and Julian has died somehow, and then they go on this quest because it happened within a few hours of Miguel, and they think maybe it's related. And like he's a ghost, but they kind of like there's some sparks flying because Julian's gay, and so is Yadriel. I keep wanting to say Yadiel. There's an R in there. um there's some sparks flying there, and it's really good, and there's a little bit of mystery, and it's also just filled to the brim with um lore and history, and like it's just so rich. That's why I love the books that have culture in them, because they just have so much more to them, and there's so many family dynamics. I find with a lot of books you lose the brother sister relationships,
Yeah.
you lose the family relationships, but this one had a lot of family involved because it was so heavily their bruja and brujo relationships are so heavily entrenched in passing down family magic and things like that. So it's really good, lots of magic, a little bit of romance, and very good ending, and it was a really good read. I liked it. So I would recommend it.
So there you go. There's all our flashback recommendations. I'll put in the show notes. I'll put these titles, but then I'll also link to what past episode they were from. So if you're like, that theme sounds like it might be of interest to me, you can go and check it out and then see the other however many books we've recommended on that theme.
Yeah, usually we were talking whenever we write them out, we usually do I think 6 highlights and 2 recommendations. So we went through a lot of books. If you look at our Goodreads, it's full.
Yeah, there's a lot of books we've discussed.
Yeah, sometimes that's the only way I know if we've talked about a book. I'm like, okay, have we talked about this one yet? Goodreads?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Dang it. Yeah. So I guess this is the end of our 50th
I
episode.
think so.
All right, then I will wrap us up for the until last week of August, first week of September, whatever that. It's a midweek. It's one of those. Yeah, so thank you everybody for watching us for our 50 episodes. Make sure to like and follow and subscribe and keep following along in the summer, even if you've already seen it. You know, it's still here. We're still here. We're coming back. Follow us. Yeah, we will be back. Make sure you check out our show notes. We've mentioned it a bunch of times. tbplofftheshelf.com. Follow us on Goodreads. All that good stuff. And I hope we hear from you guys sometime this summer, even if we're not actually on your screens. But we will see you all in 2 months. Bye!
Bye!